all these, sorry, yeah, we are talking about their pharynx. Okay, so this we have shown. Now, muscular is externa. It has smooth muscle cells. It's not important. These are mainly responsible for doing the peristalsis. So alimentary canal also regulated by the nerve like all other organs. There are important nerve plexus sub the alimentary canal, and these are the autonomic nervous system. This one is important. Digestive operation of digestive system is involuntary, right? So it's called the autonomic nervous system, that the body itself does that. We don't have to do anything. So both are parts of the autonomic nervous system, submucosal nerve plexus and myenteric nerve plexus. Just it's okay. Doesn't need to do. Only it is under the autonomic nervous system control. What this does, this helps function to regulate the mobility and secretory activity of the GI tract organs. So regulate the mobility through the peristalsis, movement of the fold by the secretory function means through the peristalsis, and by the, and this helps to govern the activity of the GI tract organs. Now, what is stomach anatomy? Stomach anatomy is located on the left side of the abdominal cavity, and food enters at the cardioesophageal sphincter, and then food empties into small intestine at the pyloric sphincter or valve. So food from esophagus to stomach, it enters with the sphincter, which is called the cardioesophageal sphincter, because it's connecting the esophagus with the upper part of the stomach, which is close to heart. That's why it's called the cardiac stomach. So it's at the junction of cardioesophageal sphincter. This question comes. The first the food is first entering into the cardiac stomach, where it gets started digestion, and then food from there go to the small intestine. From the cardiac stomach, it goes to the small intestine with the another sphincter or valve. It's called the pyloric sphincter. These two are very important to know. What is cardiac sphincter or cardioesophageal sphincter, or the pyloric sphincter, where they are located. Their main function is to stop or prevent the backflow of the digested material. Oh, so that's we told that the regions of the stomach. It has main stomach. It is the cardiac region. It is the fundus region, and this is mainly the body and pylorus. Let us see the picture. If they give the picture, no, not yet. Okay, so here is the picture. So is the here, this is the esophagus is coming. So here is one sphincter which allow the movements of the food only in one direction unless you are vomiting. That is not regular or movement. So cardiac stomach is this one. In the upper S-shaped structure is called the fundus region, and then is continuing as a coma shape is the cardiac stomach. So now this is the total entirely is called the cardiac stomach. Cardiac stomach is lined by the serosa and other things, whatever we saw, longitudinal layer. Obviously, there is muscular layer, longitudinal and serosa body. Otherwise, we cannot masticate the food or the movement of the food with the peristalsis movement. So this is all the muscle layer, and then you can see inside. This is we are going to tell what is root. This is important. Internal folds of the mucosa. Inside the stomach, there is lot of folded structure. These are called the rugi of the mucosa. From the mucosa lining, it became extended like this. So what it does, rugi is the internal folds of the mucosa. Stomach, what happens? Because stomach is like that. When you eat, the stomach needs to expand, the stretch. And for that reason, these folded structures are very important. So stomach can stretch and hold up to 4 liters of food. When you full, oh my God, can you hold the 4 liter, 1 gallon of water? The food. So that is called the rugi. Okay. So it's the internal folds inside the stomach, cardiac stomach lining. And then this cardiac stomach is passing to the pyloric stomach. And in this junction, there is also one valve, that is the pyloric sphincter valve, which controls the movement of the food from the cardiac stomach to the pyloric stomach. This is the picture, how the rugi looks like, whole structure. You just need to get all these details of the layers of the peritoneum attached to the stomach. These are not needed to for our course. So when it cut inside, actually the human body, how it looks like, see? This is the liver.
That's a real picture of
Real picture. When they digest the dead body or something, then actually you can see like this. When you are
cadaver.
seeing all this, yeah, these are the picture histology picture, or this is the diagram. But this, it looks actually like this. So here we have the gallbladder, small things. Then we have the spleen here, this area. This is the right liver, this is the left liver. Right liver is little bit bigger and is little bit push upward. Then this is the diaphragm, which is separating the esophagus with the cardiac stomach. Cardiac stomach is here. This is the stomach. And then it's going to slowly move to the small intestine. And we have another sphincter from the cardiac to the pyloric operation is sphincter. And this is the small intestine, how it's getting. And upper is the large intestine, because it's coming here and ultimately is going to be ended in the anus. Now, if you see like this, the actual picture, now you see the diagram now. So diagram is coming. This is your liver. This is your diaphragm. It's coming up. This is diaphragm. This is your liver. Then we have extension as a tube. It's called a lesser omentum. We doesn't say like that. Then you have the stomach, the main stomach, and then from the stomach it started as the intestine. And then these are all the folds, mesenteries, so that it can extend the surface for getting the proper digestion, for the time and enzyme and mixing for the proper digestion, and ultimately they are coming out through the rectum and anus. So stomach, what is the function of the stomach? temporary storage tank of foods. That's why when you eat, you feel full because the stomach is holding it, because it cannot be digested immediately. We have the steps. So it started from the mouth, it masticate, swallow, and then the masticated full food is going to start. You are eating, eating, eating. Oh, I am full. I does not to eat anything anymore. So that is the full sign. This is called the, that's why it's called the temporary storage tank of food. It's site also for the breakdown of food, because there are some chemical breakdown takes place. Site of food breakdown, chemical breakdown of proteins begins here. And then it's called the delivers. Now it doesn't call the masticated food. It's called the chyme. So delivers a chyme because it's already treated with the chemicals. It's not any more like the food particles. If it is started chemically breakdown, already started, the protein started begin breakdown, and then it's called the chyme. This chyme is called the processed food to the small intestine. Structure of the stomach mucosa is, this is important. With the stomach mucosa or stomach tissue cell have what type of cells? Columnar epithelium. Remember when we learn this tissue, columnar epithelium, because it has to hold several glands, and the glandular structure has the columnar epithelium, and this produce the mucus. It's alkaline in nature, but it's okay. So mucus, columnar epithelium cells secretes mucus. Then we have the gastric glands situated in the gastric pits and secrete gastric juice. It's okay. Just remember, you have the gastric glands which secretes the gastric juice. Then we have chief cells. This is important. What are the function of the chief cells in the stomach? It produce protein digesting enzymes. The proteins needs to be digested. So this is the chief cells, and it is responsible for the digestion of the protein. Okay. What is the name? Uh, it's called pepsinogen. From protein, protein is composed of peptide. So that's why peptide is a small block. So peptide. So that its name is pepsinogen. So pepsinogen are the protein digesting enzymes. This is the pepsinogen is a general term, but there are different types of enzymes which helps in the digestion of the protein. Then we have the parietal cells, because stomach environment is acidic. What they does? They the parietal cells, because they have to produce the hydrochloric acid to make the environment acidic, so that the proteins can perfectly work in that enzyme, in that acidic condition, in the, because the proteins at that phase needs the acidic environment to act properly. And then obviously we have enteroendocrine cells, which is called the gastrin hormone. Endocrine cells which produce the hormone. So which hormone is produced by the stomach is gastrin. Stomach. Then we are going to come to the accessory digestive organ, the insulin, pancreas, and this and that. They produce the different hormones. But the hormone which is produced inside from the stomach is called the gastrin. So this is the spiral sphincter. You see here how it looks like. These are the gastric pits is called. Then you have gastric glands here. This is the columnar epithelial cells. These are the columnar epithelial cells. Then you have the parietal cells, gastric glands, chief cells, all different types of cells for their individual functions. So chief cells is responsible for the producing the pepsinogens for the protein digesting enzymes. Then parietal cells are responsible for the hydrochloric acid so that they can assist the putting pepsinogens to break down the protein. Then we have the mucosa. Is at the thick mucus things which helps in the food to make a kind of it's called a extended charm like the things. And then we have gastric glands which secretes the gastric hormone. What the pepsinogen? What I was telling you, pepsinogen, that's the enzyme for the protein digestion. They prefers, they likes the acidic environment. It's not acidic means it's like the acid like the lemon or something, but slightly acidic environment. If they produce, if the body cannot control and produce more HCl, then you feel the acidity. So everything is balanced. Homeostasis, not hemostasis. Again, I am repeating hemostasis, blood clot. Homeostasis is the balance. But this digestion for the protein, the pepsinogen prepares and works in the slightly acidic condition. Now we are moving toward the small intestine. Small intestine is the body's major digestive organ. Here, site of nutrient absorption into the blood, muscular tube extending from the pyloric sphincter to the ileocecal valve, that when they are entering in the next phase, suspended from posterior abdominal wall by mesentery. They are holding, suspended means they are, how they are, it's a huge tube, probably 32 feet or something like that, if I remember correctly. And it's coiled, 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 coiled. It's heavy. So how is holding there? With the mesenteries. That is the extended substructure, which are the mesenteries. What we show here, you can see it is covered by the mesenteries. It's fine lining and branches, which is going in between, and this is holding the stomach properly in place. So what is duodenum? Duodenum is attached to stomach, curves around the head of the pancreas. When is curves? We are going to come to the structure. And then we have the duodenum, that is the small intestine. You have three parts. This is important. Small intestine has three parts. Duodenum, which is attached to the stomach and is cup shaped around the head of the pancreas. So it's called the duodenum. Then jejunum and ileum. So jejunum attaches anteriorly to the duodenum and posteriorly to the ileum. And ileum is extended from jejunum to the large intestine. What happened here? Mainly the chemical digestion in the small intestine begins in the small intestine. Enzymes are produced by the intestinal cells, pancreas, pancreatic ducts carry enzymes to the small intestine, bile, this is important. Where the bile from? Bile from by the liver and then enters the bile duct. So mainly chemical digestion begins in the small intestine. The enzymes are produced by the intestinal cells and the pancreas. And pancreatic ducts carry enzymes into the small intestine. And bile is needed for the digestion is formed by the liver. So pancreas produce enzymes. Also, pancreas produce hormone called the insulin, glucagon, and somatostatin. So this is the three hormones. Pancreas is the only organ in the body which has both the exocrine and endocrine function. Exocrine means it secretes the enzyme which is carried through the duct. That's the pancreatic duct carries enzymes to the small intestine. But the pancreatic part of the endocrine function, when it produces the hormone, it goes directly to the blood. That is the endocrine function. Note down, only one structure in the digestive system functions both exocrine and endocrine function. That is the pancreas. Another important, bile is produced by the liver, and then it enters to the via the bile duct to the stomach. So this is the liver. This is the right and left hepatic ducts. It's called the hepatopancreatic duct. So this is coming, then ultimately it is directly going to the stomach. This is the gallbladder. Gallbladder also gives its secretion directly to the stomach. This is the pancreas. These pancreas, when they produce enzymes, these enzymes are carried to the stomach or the small intestine by the duct. But when this give this hormone to the stomach. This is called the hepatopancreatic sphincter, and here is the hepatopancreatic duct. So small intestine anatomy, it has the microvilli. Obviously, this is the tiny projections of the plasma membrane. Is called the brush border in appearance, so that they can move the food along with the peristalsis. They can brush in, move the villi, move in one direction, and they can push the food, digested food, from up to downwards. This is the microvilli. These are the small tiny projection. We have the villi. It's called the finger-like structures formed by the mucosa, and we also circular folds, deep folds of mucosa and some mucosa. This is for learning. We are teaching. These are not going to come in the questions. But it is better to know how it moves the food. Okay. So these are the circular folds. This is the villi we call, and microvilli is hard to see, is there. This is the mucosal layer of the small intestine. So this is the inside, internal layer. Outside like this one, there is muscle layer, and this is the external layer. These are the two muscle layers. This is the internal layer, and how the internal layer has lot of foldings. It has projections. This is called the circular foldings. Then it has some villi, brass border-like structures. Now we are coming to the large intestine. Large intestine, larger, that is called the large in diameter, but is shorter in length than the small intestine. Small intestine is huge. Large intestine is from extend from the ileocecal valve to the anus, and it has couple of subdivision like the small intestine has duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. At the same time, like that, large intestine has couple of parts. What is that? It has cecum, appendix, colon, rectum, and anal canal. What is the cecum? Cecum is a sac-like first part of the large intestine. We are going to show the structure again in the diagram. Appendix. Everybody knows appendix is the accumulation of the lymphatic tissue that sometimes become inflated. So appendix we feel for the digestion is associated with the digestive organ, but it's not the function of the digestion. If by chance food or any particles go inside and get infected, then appendix became, we got the appendicitis. Sometimes it's too much infection or um, skin inflate in such a way it can rupture. So, but it is the storage organ, that is the lymphatic tissue, that sometimes becomes inflated, and it hangs from the cecum. Okay, so let us see how it looks like. So this is our large intestine, right? So we have ascending colon because it's connected from the small intestine. It is getting connected here. It's getting up. This is called the ascending colon. It is passing through like this. It's called the transverse colon, and this is the descending colon. This descending colon is then ultimately making a sigmoid shape before it's go to the rectum. So that's why sometimes in the constipation, where the hardening of stool, it's difficult to pass this area because the stool stays here. They doesn't like to come here until they become little stop. So the constipation then causes here so that the food cannot go to the rectum. You are feeling that you like to poo, but it cannot push the poo because this is the structure. That is called the sigmoid colon. So we have ascending colon, large intestine. We have ascending colon, we have transverse colon, we have descending colon. Descending colon is before it goes to the, it starts at the rectum, it make a sigmoid shape. That is, it's called the sigmoid colon. And then it passes to the rectum. It's a highly muscular structure where helps in the stool passage, and this is the anal canal and anal sphincter, which regulates the take poo out. So, and this is the cecum, and you can see this is hanging like in the appendix. Is the lymphatic tissue, and cecum is hanging extended. So when this is coming, is like extended structure here, cecum, and from the cecum the appendicitis coming out and hanging. So first the infection comes from here and sometimes is spread here. The properly indigested food or the food which is infected. So sometimes they store here instead of moving. The food didn't able to pass due to problem in the peristalsis or food become hard. So then this stays here and slowly it goes to the appendix and cause the inflammation to from the appendicitis. Whatever I told you, colon, ascending colon travels upright of the abdomen, transverse travel across the abdominal cavity, descending travels down to the left side. Sigmoid esophageal region enters the pelvis, then rectum and anus also located in the pelvis. This is the again they are showing the structure. So now is the large intestine anatomy. Anatomy, anus is the opening of the large intestine to the exterior. It has exterior anal sphincter from the skeletal muscle and under voluntary control, right? When you feel I am going to poo, you are going to poo. Even you are feeling poo, but you cannot have the time, at least you can control it. That's why it's called the under voluntary control. Internal involuntary sphincter, which is going to push the poo and then give you the feeling that you need to poo. So internal involuntary sphincter. This sphincter is not under control, but it's a sphincter so that the poo is coming to the one direction. It's not going back. Otherwise, the food digested food, and poo can be mixed up. So when it's coming to the large intestine towards the anus, this has the sphincter. It's called the internal involuntary sphincter. These sphincters are normally closed except during defecation. So here there is no need of movement that much, because here the muscle movement moves the poo or the bowel or feces. So there are different terminology. So there are some special type of cells present here which produce the alkaline mucus. This mucus helps to lubricate the passage of feces. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to pass. So it lubricates the passage of feces, and then they these sphincters, I am not going to do this one. So just the sphincters help to move the poo out or the feces out. What are the accessory digestive organ? Teeth, salivary glands, pancreas, liver, gallbladder. So what are there? These are the 5 accessory digestive organ: teeth, salivary glands, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. Okay, let us see. How many slides? 52. You want to go for a break? Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Thank you.
miss.
Okay, okay. Go
Thank
for
you.
yeah. Go for a break. Then we'll start from here. Okay. Okay.
20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank
I need
you.
20 minutes too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If by chance I fall asleep, call me. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you, dears. Okay. Okay, so back now to class. Now, what you guys eat? Did you use the teeth now or only the tongue? Everybody can hear me?
Yes,
Yes, I
Mom,
can
we can
hear
hear
you.
you.
So, did anyone use the teeth right now? No? Then use the
No.
tongue? No teeth,
Yes,
only
yes,
drink?
I did.
Okay. So, what you did with the teeth?
I chew.
You chew.
Yeah.
What is the scientific name of the chewing?
Oh God. Mastication.
You are upset, right? So even we eat and she is asking us what is the scientific term. So it's okay, mastication. Good.
That's right.
So function of the teeth is to chew means masticate. Okay, the food. We have two sets of teeth, right? With the baby teeth and our adult teeth. So baby teeth is called the milk teeth. When it's and baby generally has 20 teeth by the age of 2. It depends upon 18 to 20. But first teeth in general in the baby appear in the lower central, that is called the incisor. That is the first appearance of teeth on the baby. And slowly there had been permanent teeth replace the deciduous teeth between ages of 6 and 12. And we have full set of 32 teeth. But some people do not have the wisdom teeth, that is the third molars. It has, it's hiding, gives pain to give us the wisdom. If they do emerge, the wisdom teeth appear between ages of 17 and 25. This doesn't need to remember, only just you can remember that we have the full set of 32 teeth in the adult. And what is the deciduous teeth? The baby teeth. And it has been replaced between the age of 6 to 12 as a permanent teeth. That's all. Oh my God. Classification of teeth. Incisor, this is the front teeth for cutting. Canine, tearing. Animals has the most canine teeth because they have to tear, because they eat the raw things and they need to tear. They grab another animal and then tear parts, then they did the cutting. Premolars is grinding, just behind the after the canines, and molars is for grinding. So this is the deciduous and milk teeth. These are called the incisor. The front one is called the incisor, then canine, then molars and things. And the adult and permanent teeth, we have these things. So we have the incisor, then canine, then premolar, then molar and wisdom teeth here. These questions are not going to keep crown, enamel, dentin, forget. You want to read it? I can go it, but this is not important for your question. Asness, asness. No, 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 please go ahead.
No, no, no.
Yeah, but when you have the student review and after the course feedback, you are not going to write the Munmun didn't teach us those things, right? Are you going to write that?
No, miss.
No.
I'm just making fun. I
Yeah.
know it's going to be too much for you guys. Okay, so you just we are not going to be dentists. My goodness.
Just taking blood. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And some who is going to work inside the lab, they are going to do some lab works, right?
That's
Even,
right.
yeah, this is too much for the course. Basically, I should not say that then the Anderson is going to kill me. It's going to be within 3 to 4 months, this course should be ended.
Believe
The,
you. So
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Can
just,
we, can we end it in that time, please?
but I am not the decision makers because they have to, I don't know why, they have got so deep, this unnecessary things. And they are what is happening, all these unnecessary informations making your brains burden, and you guys cannot fix for the real exam for the OSMT's mediated questions. So diversion. But don't worry, at the end of the things we are going to I am always give the ML Power related questions for each module. I am going to give it to the anatomy and physiology also after some time with the answers. Then you doesn't have to put effort to find the answer. But the reviews, each one, you guys practice, so you guys are doing very good in the exam when you guys do the reviews with the answers. Okay, so now the salivary glands are these are the important parts. We have the three pairs of salivary glands which secretion into the mouth. And what happened is when you masticate the food, this the saliva mix with the food and helps it to swallow. We have parotid glands, we have submandibular glands, sublingual glands. That's all. They produce saliva. Basically, salivary glands produce saliva to moisten and make the masticated food moisten so that it can help swallow. That's all. How many glandular salivary glands? We don't need to know that. You can know that, but it doesn't relate it to your exam. Okay. So tongue, these are the salivary glands. Three different types of salivary glands: parotid, sublingual, submandibular, maxilla, mandible. That's why it is called the different names. So this is the structure again. We are coming back and forth. What is the function of the saliva? This is important. Mixture of mucus and serous fluids helps to form a food bolus. That masticated food, when it's mixed with the saliva, it makes a bolus, soft one, and it helps to move. And also, the saliva contains the enzyme amylase. This is important. The amylase. Our starch digestion starts in the mouth. First digestion is the starch digestion. It starts in the mouth with the enzyme amylase, which is secreted from the salivary gland. And also in the saliva, they have chemicals which helps us to taste the food. We have taste bud, but at the same time, they have the chemicals, which chemicals help us to taste the food, whether it's sour, taste, bitter, sweeter, everything. Now, pancreas is an important accessory digestive organ. It is found to the posterior parietal peritoneum. Its location is retroperitoneal. There's no need. So it extends across the abdomen from spleen to the duodenum. There is no need. Let us go to the function. Okay. So pancreas. Pancreas actually is one of the main organ which produce a cocktail of digestive enzymes. It's called the digestive juice. Very important. It's called the digestive juice. It produces a wide spectrum of digestive enzymes that breaks down all categories of food. Amylase in the mouth only breaks down the starch. Pepsinogen in the stomach only breaks down the protein. But we doesn't only eat the starch and protein and not, but we eat different kinds of food, different types of chemical nature of food. So, but pancreas produce all kind of digestive enzymes that break down all categories of food. It's called the digestive juice cocktail. So enzymes are secreted in the duodenum. So it's close to the pancreas is close to the duodenum. So from the pancreas, the enzymes with the duct secreted in the duodenum. Alkaline fluid introduced with enzymes neutralizes the acid chyme coming from the stomach. In the stomach, it is getting protein digestion. What was the environment? It was the acidic environment, right? The hydrochloric acid is going to be produced by the parietal cells because the protein digestive enzymes works in the acidic environment. That is the note. Protein digesting enzymes in the stomach works in the acidic environment. So it produces the hydrochloric acid. But when it's coming to the duodenum, the other enzymes which is secreted in the pancreas for digestion of all different types of foods, they cannot function properly in the acidic environment. So pancreas also secretes some alkaline fluid to neutralize the acidic environment, which acidic food which is coming back from the stomach, so that the pH is not anymore acidic, it's now normal pH, pH 7.0 or close to 7.47 to 7.6. That is the neutral pH. That's why I said alkaline fluid introduced with enzymes neutralizes the acidic chyme coming from the stomach. I also told pancreas is only organ which has the exoskine and endoskin function. Again, this enzyme part is the exoskine, because it is producing the enzymes and delivering into the duodenum through the duct. But hormones, endocrine organs, they produce the hormones and they deliver the hormone into the blood. So these hormones, pancreas is producing insulin and glucagon. What are the function of the insulin and glucagon? What insulin does?
Regulates blood sugar.
Forming or breaking?
Breaking.
And what is the function of the glucagon?
It would be
To
the same
keep
thing.
the- Yeah, to keep the
Sugar.
blood sugar balance.
But what is the function? How it does that blood sugar balance?
It counteracts
Digestion.
the insulin.
What? I didn't
I
get.
think it converts excess fat
Counteract.
back to glucose, right? Like it changes it to glucose for the body to use.
Glucagon helping to produce the glucose. When the body blood sugar is low, glucagon come in action. Glucagon is secreted. Who is calling me? Not you guys, right? Oh, pill police. Okay, so I'm going to call them. Yeah, yesterday in the hospital, one of parents' mom just grabbed me and pushed me in the floor. So that's why you have to report. So all these things, police report, this report, now police is calling. I'm going to call them later. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so what are you? So insulin is responsible for breaking down the glucose. When the blood glucose is high, insulin breaks down to bring it to the normal level. But in your body, when the blood sugar level is too low, glucagon is secreted to produce the glucose. Can I just give you me 5 minutes time because the police is calling? Okay. Okay. Hold on.
Yes,
a second.
miss. It's
Okay.
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 Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That's fine because I did my night shift and I came back home. I was teaching now. I will go back to the work at 11 p.m. tonight. Okay. Okay. From 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank. Bye. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So insulin and glucagon, obviously, it balances the blood sugar level. Who has the pancreas, whose patient or the body who cannot produce the insulin, they got the high blood sugar. And who produce more insulin, even you ate, sometimes the blood sugar become low. That time the glucagon comes in stage and do its action. Okay. This is the same picture. So now the liver. These two organs, pancreas is the only structure in the digestive system or organ who has both the exocrine and endocrine. What I am telling is going to questions comes like that. Even the ML power, even it doesn't come the question here, is going to may come in the midterm, and also it can come in the this is one of the favorite questions, the ML power. What is the exocrine and endocrine gland of the body? Is the pancreas. Or they will give you the exocrine and endocrine function. They will give the option liver, pancreas, duodenum, stomach. So you have to remember. Another organ, liver, is very important. Liver is the largest gland in the body. Another, okay, note. And it is located on the right side of the body under the diaphragm. This liver has 4 lobes. And it is connected with the gallbladder by the common hepatic duct. It's connected with the gallbladder in the common duct. Okay. So here is this one. Liver. It is located towards your right side. It has 4 lobes. It is connected with the gallbladder with the duct. Okay. So again, the same structure is repeating. What liver does? Liver does produce the bile. We all know liver produce the bile. So bile leaves the liver through the common hepatic duct, which is coming from the liver is hepato. Remember the terminology? Anything is liver related is hepatic. So hepato, hepatitis means inflammation of the liver. There are the different virus, that hepatitis A, B, C, there are different kinds of liver disease. So hepato, so it's called the hepatic duct. So from the bile leaves from the liver through the hepatic duct. What is contents? It contains bile salts, it contains bile pigment. What is the bile pigments? Bilirubin. And from where the bilirubin comes, you remember the blood worn out things is coming to the spleen and liver. So most bilirubin comes from the breakdown of the hemoglobin. Also, it has cholesterol, phospholipids, electrolytes. What is the main function? Among these one is the most important. So you remember bile produced liver, bile is produced by the liver. Liver contains the bile salts and bile pigments. And from the bile pigments comes, it is from the breakdown of the hemoglobin, which is coming from the blood. These two is important to remember here. So basically what bile does, emulsify fats by physically breaking large fat globules in the smaller ones. That is the, so you are eating the big cheese. Big cheese cannot go into your body. So what it does, it emulsify means is what is it called, making like it's it's kind of mastication, but the fat globule cannot be masticated. So it's called the emulsification by physically breaking large fat globules in the smaller ones, very smaller ones, which they can be digested and get there done. Gallbladder, we have. What is the medical name of the gallbladder? You guys have to find it out. I'm not telling it. So is gallbladder is a hollow fossa of liver. So when no digestion is occurring, bile backs up in the cystic duct and storage in the gallbladder. So there is no function, no digestion. You are not eating or drinking or anything. So what will happen? What the bile is produced, the bile is getting the storage organ. So it's stored. The bile secretion. But what happened when the bile salts, when it comes to the hemoglobin and other things, then sometimes it forms the stone in the forms of a stone. Then you got the gallbladder stone. So when digestion of fatty acid, that's the fat, food is occurring, bile is introduced in the duodenum. So when you are eating the fatty foods, fat, so that time the bile comes from there into the duodenum from the gallbladder and helps in the digestion of the fatty food. So what are the gallstone? Gallstone are the crystallized cholesterol which can cause blockage. So when the fat cannot be emulsified, they become solid. Like you see, if you get the chicken and other things, you can see the fat. And when those type of fats become crystallized, become more hardened, then it forms a gallstone and give you the pain. So this is the gallbladder again.
So it makes sense, ma'am, that cholecystitis is the inflammation of the gallbladder, and
Now
wherefore
you got the name of the gallbladder in the another way. Polycystic acid. Yes, come
yes,
on.
Asinet is very happy.
Yeah, yeah. So see, this is the gallbladder, the bile from the liver, which is excess bile when there is no digestion is going on, it is storing in the gallbladder. When your fatty food is eating, is coming to the duodenum this part, then the gallbladder from this duct is called the hepatic duct because it's coming from the is releasing into the duodenum for digestion or the emulsification of the fat molecule to make the small fat molecule so that it can be absorbed in the body. Okay. So then we have what is the function of the digestive system? We have already known ingestion, placing food into the mouth, propulsion, moving foods from one region to the digestive system to the another system. It's called the propulsion. Who does the propulsion? Peristalsis. This is the alternative waves of contraction and relaxation, which squeezes food along the GI tract. Segmentation, moving materials back and forth to aid with mixing in the small intestine. There is the different segments. So ingestion, then mechanical digestion, and also start digestion in the mouth with the amylase. Then it's going to the feeding, chewing food, swallowing food, cussing. Is going to the esophagus. This is mainly for the passage. Then see the alternating waves moving the food from one direction to the one direction. And here the food is getting circulated so that they can digest properly. The cardiac stomach, then the you have different cells, pancreas, this and that, all these things is coming and the food is moving here and here. So this part is the small intestine is the absorption taking place and the upper part is going to be the duodenum up to the main digestion takes place. And then finally is the absorption of the food in the lymph and vessels, the nutrients in the lower part of the small intestine then is getting absorbed the nutrients it has been digested here in here and then in the small intestine this part all the foods are getting absorbed the nutrients not the foods the nutrients is getting absorbed in the blood vessels and also here the blood vessels and then ultimately in the large intestine is starting making the bowel or feces and ultimately is getting out from your body. Mm. How the mechanical digestion breaks the food, mixing the food, mouth by the tongue and also teeth charring food in the stomach. Charring means by the peristaltic movement, the stomach muscles are moving like that. It's how we make the, something, you make the boiled things, vegetables or something, and then you mix it. That's called the charring food. Segmentation in the small intestine. So different segments are there, and then it helps to move the food. Mechanical digestion prepares food for further degradation by the enzymes. There is no need. So chemical digestion. They use the enzymes, right? Pancreas delivers a cocktail of enzymes. In the mouth, from the saliva, we get the amylase for starch breakdown. In the stomach, cardiac stomach, we get the enzyme pepsinogen for the protein breakdown. So, what is the function of the enzymes? What the enzymes does? They break down food molecules into their building blocks from where they have started, like the bricks of a house. They are building blocks. Brick one after another with the cementing, when these polishing everything. So they make the ultimately house. So same thing like that, the building blocks. So enzymes break down the food into the simplest form, that is the building blocks. So how it works? We have different types of enzymes which helps to break down different types of foods. Carbohydrates. The enzymes breaks down the carbohydrates to sugars. Here you eat the carbohydrate and it ultimately forms the sugar. Proteins broke down to amino acids, and fats are broken down to fatty acids and alcohols. So this is the chart how is going to digestion. Foodstuff, carbohydrate, carbohydrates starch from the salivary amylase and pancreatic amylase. Site of action, mouth and small intestine. You doesn't need to know all these things. Ultimately, carbohydrate digestion produce galactose, glucose, and fructose. And this is the main one, glucose, which gives you the trouble for the diabetes. And the carbohydrate absorption takes place in the small intestine and goes to the capillary blood in the villi and transported to the liver by the hepatic portal vein. Then the protein digestion. You doesn't need to know that much, but yeah. So pepsin in starts in the stomach. Then pancreatic enzymes like pancreas always sends a cocktail of juice. Also carbohydrate, protein, fat, everything. So pancreatic enzymes like the trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase. This is in the small intestine, and then ultimately it came absorbed. And the same way, foodstuff, fat. Fat started in the small intestine. Fat doesn't start in the other places. Emulsify by the detergent action of the bile salts of the liver. And there is pancreas always sending all the juices. So it's with the lipase heat in the small intestine, it emulsify or break down the fats into their building block. Okay, so next function, absorption. What we are telling, absorption. Absorption mean end products of digestion in the form of nutrients. They're absorbed in the blood or lymph. That's all. To the blood or lymph. What is defecation? What absorption means, what defecation means? Elimination. Defecation means elimination of indigestible substances from the GI tract in the form of a feces. That is called defecation. We are getting rid of the feces or the defecation. Absorption is in products of the digested food or digestion in the form of nutrients. They are getting absorbed in the blood or lymph. That is the absorption. Digestion is breaking down of the food chemically and also mainly the chemical, and some little bit with the peristaltic movement help all the, so chemical breakdown is the digestion. What we learned at the beginning, that is the more important things. So it's the same things is telling mechanical digestion, propulsion is movement of the food in the esophagus. There is no digestion happens in the esophagus. Only esophagus propels the food from the mouth. Even mouth, there is some digestion happening with the amylase starch. But esophagus, there is nothing. It's just a hollow tube, just propagate or the food from the mouth to the stomach. And then stomach, this is the fundus region, this is the duodenum, this is the most important structure here. Most digestion takes place because liver and pancreas lying close to the duodenum. And liver, gallbladder and pancreas. So they are sending all the cocktail juices. So main digestion takes place and then slowly they move to the small intestine for the absorption. After the absorption, food is going to the indigested food is going to the large intestine and then is getting out from the body. So control of the digestive activity is controlled by the reflexes by the parasympathetic division. And there is chemical and mechanical receptors are located in the, forget it. This is in general. What are the factors? Stretch of the organ, whether the organ can stretch because they have the microvilli. So stomach, if the stomach cannot stretch, it cannot hold your food. Also the pH of the contents. If you are eating too much acidic, too much alcoholic, if you are drinking too much alcohol, if you are doing too much acidic or alkaline foods, obviously it takes, because when you are taking too much acidic food, what is happening? It going to the stomach. Stomach is already, they always produce the acid. If you are taking too much acid, only one time or little bit is okay, but if you are constantly taking the acidic food non-stop, not taking other foods, then the stomach lining is going to be damaged, because stomach is also producing hydrochloric acid for the pepsinogen, for the protein digestion. So that is the pH. In the duodenum area, it likes the pH for quite neutral pH. So they are produce some alkaline. If you are taking too much alkaline, so what is going to be the alkalinity is going to be the increase. So the fruit cannot be digested properly. And obviously, its reflex is said the different glandular tissue cells are there, and also the which secretes all the secretions to move forward, the mucosa and other things. And obviously the smooth muscle activity, which is responsible for the peristaltic movement to propagate the food from one part to the down outward. So we are already discussed with this one, by chewing, why they are doing it again, mechanical breakdown, chemical digestion with the saliva, starch broke down with the salivary amylase, then pharynx and esophagus, no digestive function. We have already told that. Supplies the passageway to the stomach. What is, I never heard this one. Deglutition. This is the, in the D12 they have added this one. Deglutition. Deglutition. It's the swallowing. It occurs in the mouth. Food is formed into bolus, mixing with the saliva, and then the food is forced in the pharynx by the tongue. These are already do involuntary transport of the passageway for stomach block. This we already did. Pharyngeal esophagus, cardioesophageal. You know, I told the gastrin is secreted by the hormone factor presence of polarizing pH. No need. That I already discussed. Hydrochloric acid makes stomach contents very acidic pH. I told you that the pepsinogen, the protein digesting enzymes, acts in the acidic pH. And also this acid provides the hostile. In addition, in the acidic environment, if any microorganism enters with your food, this acid kills them. So that is we call the body defense. So our what is called our the internal stomach is also the stomach also acts as a defense. This is the things how it happens because it has the secreting the acid, and there they kill the bacteria or any microorganism. If they cannot be killed, they can pass down and they can spoil, and then you can have the diarrhea or stomach pain or something. So we have different protein digesting enzymes, pepsin, renin. Obviously, alcohol is going to be absorbed in the stomach and go to the blood and make problem. Propulsion of the stomach, propulsion, grinding, retropulsion, no need. So pancreatic enzymes, which we told again, just repeat, help complete digestion of starch, pancreatic enzymes and amylase, also all protein digestion, carbohydrate digestion, and fat digestion. Fat, no, not fat here. Fat is from the bile. Is done, but not for the pancreas. So pancreas helps in the complete digestion of starch with the pancreatic amylase, which is started at the beginning in the mouth from the saliva. Then half of all protein digestion, digest fat using lipases from the pancreas, digest nucleic acid using nucleases, alkaline content neutralize acetic chyme. So regulation of the pancreatic juice secretion. I told you pancreatic juice. Now they are using this language. Pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice is released in the duodenum by the local hormone secreting cholecystokinin. That's why the name is cholecystitis, so the gallbladder. So this is the hormone. Ooh, hello? Hello? Customer. Okay. I'm just taking this phone because the police may come. That's why. Other day I just ignored it. So then it produces the different hormones, and then hormones go to the travel to the blood that stimulates pancreas to release all the enzymes. That is so pancreas is also secretion from the pancreas is also under control of some stimuli. What is the stimuli? The vagus nerve. It's okay. So bile is necessary. This is another terminology. Bile is necessary for absorption of fat molecules, fat soluble vitamins. So bile is very important for the fat absorption, not only the breakdown. It emulsifies, at the same time it helps in the absorption of the fat. And we have couple of vitamins in the body. What is vitamin K, D, and A? So these are the fat soluble enzymes. Only they can go inside the body when they are soluble in the emulsified fat. My God, it looks like they are going to make us the doctor.
Yes, ma'am, true. We are going to be
PhD.
doctors at the end of this.
Instead of MLA or MLT, we can say the doctor. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So what is the absorption in the small intestine? Water is absorbed through the length of the water because we are drinking the water also, and so food breakdown, there is a production of water. So water is absorbed in the small intestine, all along the small intestine. And end products of digestion, obviously, ultimately is going to be the feces. So most substances are absorbed by active transport through cell membranes. We have learned the active transport mechanism, right? And the lipid are absorbed by the diffusion. You know what is diffusion means. I am not repeating it. So, and then the substance are transported to the liver by the hepatic portal vein. These important substances which the end product of digestion, those things are transported to the liver by the hepatic portal vein. This is important. Write it down or note it down or highlight it down. This question comes often. Transported hepatic portal vein, or and there is another hepatopancreatic duct. So propulsion in the small intestine, peristalsis, and segmental movements. Each segment moves for pushing the food in the next step. In the large intestine, what happens? No digestive enzymes, because there is no need for any digestion, and there is no digestion in the large intestine. It's only having the indigested or undigested food material. They are holding it and passing it to the next segment. So now no digestive enzymes are produced. Resident bacteria digest remaining nutrients and produce some vitamin, because there is in the rectal or the large intestine, there is natural bacteria which helps in the last minute nutrient digestion and produce vitamin K and B. They also release gases. So when there is too much of bacteria, we form the gas. Waters and vitamin K and B are absorbed here. Remaining metals are eliminated by feces. So what is the feces has? Feces has undigested food residues, obviously mucus. It comes through from mouth to the end. Then you have the bacteria and also the water. So propulsion of the large intestine, peristalsis, is sluggish. Mass movement, slow but powerful. When moves, is giving the huge amount of contraction. Occurs 3 to 4 times a day. Bowel movement? No, not everyone. Presence of feces in the rectum causes a defecation reflex. When rectum is full, you feel that I need to go to the washroom. So then the internal anal sphincter is relaxed, leaving the poo towards the end, and defecation occurs with the relaxation of the voluntary anal sphincter. When you push the food, push the feces, what happened? The external anal sphincter became open. It's not relaxed, it's open. And then the poo is passed or feces is passed. Nutrients. What are the nutrients which absorbed in the body? Substance used by the body for the growth, maintenance, and repair. Major nutrients are carbohydrates, lipids, protein, water, and minor nutrients and vitamins and minerals. So these are the end product of your digestion. Did everyone follow this one? I don't. So dietary resources of major nutrients, carbohydrates, mostly derived from plants, only lactose from milk and small amount of glycogens from the meats, lipids from the fats, animal products, unsaturated fats from nuts, seeds, vegetable oils, cholesterol from egg yolk, meat, milk products like the cheese, everything. Proteins, mainly from the animal products, the meats contain all essential amino acids. What are the essential amino acids? This is important to know. Essential. Body is making huge number of proteins, including for your muscles, this and that, everything, tissue repair. But body unfortunately cannot make couple of amino acids. This is called the essential amino acids, which body cannot make. So we must obtain the essential amino acids through our diet. And who is the source? Protein is the source. So legumes, beans are also have proteins but are incomplete. So mainly the animal protein, even the cheese also have that one. So these are the seeds and beans. So these are the amino acids the body cannot produce: tryptophan, methionine, valine, threonine, phenylalanine, leucine, isoleucine, and lysine. You doesn't need to know that. This is we learned it for our research. Vitamins. More vitamins are used as coenzymes because they are attached to the enzymes. That's why coenzymes, and found in all major types of food. Where you can get the most nutrients? Minerals play roles in the body. Most mineral-rich foods are vegetables, legumes, milk, and some meats. So chemical reaction, this is we already learned. What is the catabolism? This is very important. Catabolism and anabolism. What is the difference between anabolism and catabolism? Catabolism broke down. It's cutting. Remember like that way. Otherwise, this question students make mistake. They put the catabolism as a formation because they think it's catalyzed. No, I just keep it like that. Catabolism means cutting. Substances are broken down to simpler substances and energy is released. That is the catabolism. And anabolism, when the body is making larger molecules from the smaller one. So body is doing the catabolism and the anabolism. In the stomach, all the procedures are catabolism. Anabolism is taking the nutrients and everything is getting absorbed, then put the bile or capillary in the blood, and then it's going to the different parts, and then there is a production of larger molecule is taking place in the cell. Sometimes the DNA, from the DNA, then we have RNA, from the RNA, ultimately is going to produce amino acid. Amino acid is going to make a big protein is going to make, ultimately a cell to tissue, and is going to the organism level. So we already told that major carbohydrate breakdown product is glucose. And when it use the fuel to make ATP. When it is breakdown, it needs the fuel to make ATP. Cellular respiration. Why you need a cellular respiration here? We learned in the under the respiration. What is the internal or cellular respiration? What is glycolysis? This is the important terminology. Glycolysis. Lysis means breakdown. Glyco means sugar. Glycolysis is the breakdown of the glucose molecule. Breakdown of the glucose molecule is called the glycolysis. And during glycolysis, it produces the ATP for the generation. No, Krebs cycle is complicated. No, there is no. No. Okay. So next, hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. What we are telling, hyperglycemia, excessively high levels of glucose in the blood. What happened? This excess glucose is stored in the body cell as an glycogen, that is the fat reservoir. Even after storing as a glycogen, when the blood glucose level is too high, then they try to convert it to a fat. That's why they tell that don't eat too much, because the extra sugar is going to store at the glycogen, and also it can convert to fat, and ultimately, if it is uncontrolled, it's going to produce blood sugar. Hypoglycemia, low levels of glucose in the blood. Fat metabolism, we already learned it is handled mostly by the liver, which is secreting the lab starch emulsifier. So we already discussed, but role of liver in metabolism, it has several roles. Manufactures bile, as we know. Bile helps in the digestion of the fat. It detoxifies drugs and alcohol. That is the main site for the detoxification. Degrades hormone. If there is excess hormone, it degrades the hormone. And also liver produces cholesterol, blood proteins, albumin, and clotting proteins. And is a playlist central role in the metabolism. It can regenerate if part or it is damaged or removed. So liver can regenerate in the body. So that's why if there is a liver problem, you can do the surgery of the liver, remove this one, and it can regenerate the good part. Function of liver is important regarding fats, the fat digestion and detoxification of the drugs and alcohol. That is only takes place in the liver and regulates hormone. Glycogenesis. What is the name of glycogenesis? Formation of the glucose molecule. Sorry, glycogenesis. Formation of the glycogen from the glucose. So glucose is transferred or converted to glycogen. Genesis means production or synthesis. Lysis means breakdown. Glycogenolysis. Glucose is released from liver after conversion from glycogen. That means it is the from glycogen. So when is the formation of the glycogen from glucose is the glycogenesis. And when the formation of glucose from the glycogen molecules by breaking down is called the glycogenolysis. And gluconeogenesis, formation of new sugar, that is called the gluconeo, means new, genesis means synthesis. For these terminologies, you can remember glycogenesis, glycogenolysis, and gluconeogenesis. So cholesterol, we need the cholesterol for what in the body? Too much cholesterol is bad for our body because it can cause the blockage of artery or heart, so deposits in the wall of the artery. But cholesterol is also needed in our body because it helps in the hormone. It is the source of production of the steroid hormones and vitamin D. And it's a major building block of the plasma membrane. Whatever the plasma membrane, that is cholesterol. Most cholesterol is produced in the liver, and it is not from the diet. It's directly liver produce it. So what are the LDL, HDL? We call that LDL and HDL is high, or VLDL is high or low. So cholesterol cannot go directly into the circulation. They need some transporter. What the transporter? We have in the main, we have the lipoprotein. Lipo means fat and protein everybody knows. So the fat molecule tagged with the protein molecule lipoprotein, they can help in the transport of cholesterol to the blood. So there are transported lipoproteins. What are the different lipoproteins? Low density lipoproteins and high density lipoproteins. So low density lipoproteins transport to the body cells. And these are called the low density, means bad lipoproteins. They can lead to the atherosclerosis. The low density lipoprotein is dangerous because they can travel anywhere and they can deposit and form the block the arteries or vessels, any vessels. And high density lipoprotein is transported from the body cells to the directly liver. So body energy balance is energy intake, total energy intake is equal to total energy output. So heat plus work plus energy storage. So these are all junk. What is basic metabolic rate? Everybody has, okay, what is the BMR? What is the BMR? So amount of heat produced by the body per unit of time at rest. When you are resting, how much heat is produced, how the heat produced due to the all chemical activity, including the cellular respiration, cellular absorption, everything. So all in activity included at the rest time of the body, how much body is generating heat. That is the basic metabolic rate. So which can affect the BMR? The main thing is gender and age. Gender, males tend to be high BMRs, whereas the ladies has low BMRs. Age, children and adolescents who are more active, the youngs, they have higher BMRs than the elderly people. No temperature. What is the body temperature? Body generally has a normal temperature of 30. This is important. What is the normal body temperature? 35.6 degree to 37.8 degrees centigrade is the normal body temperature in centigrade, and in Fahrenheit is between 96 degree to 100 degree Fahrenheit. Who regulates the heat? We already learned when we did that. Hypothalamus is the controlling center for heat production. What is shivering means? Contraction of muscles produces by the heat. That is the shivering. So how is temperature regulated? Fever is called the hyperthermia. What is pyrogenic? So result, how it result? It can result fever from infection, cancer, allergic reaction, CNS injuries, everything and more. So it says if the body thermostat is set too high, body proteins may be denatured and permanent brain damage may occur. Forget that. That's why I said too much high temperature is bad for the brain. This is done. Those are all garbage. So now you like to see the digestive video? And then we are going to be done. You want to watch?
Yes, then we're
Yes.
done.
You know, we've been talking about a lot of serious stuff here lately. Heart failure, respiratory, gas exchange,
Oh, let
people
me see.
with
This is
holes
the
in their
third part.
stomachs,
Sorry.
nachos.
Okay.
Wait, flatbread pizza at Tim's? Yep, flatbread pizza. Made with rich marinara sauce, 3 flavorful cheeses, and topped with slow-cooked chicken. That's hot out of the oven? Yeah, made just for you.
Delicious.
It's time for flatbread pizzas. It's time for Tim's.
Get your seat ready.
You name it, it's on Prime.
We all have our reasons for eating nachos at 3 in the afternoon. I happen to have my own. And don't ask, it's personal. But more generally, we all eat any kind of food to accomplish 2 simple things: to obtain the energy we need to stay alive, and to get the raw materials required for building all of our tissues and stuff. That's because when it comes down to it, both you and the food you eat contain those 2 same things. Both you and food are made of stuff, by which I mean matter, made of certain kinds of atoms, and both you and food have energy stored in the bonds between those atoms. So all living things need to take in stuff and energy and convert it into slightly different stuff and energy. And you can get some of the things you need pretty easily. Like, in order to get oxygen for respiration, to unleash the chemical energy in your food, you just have to inhale. But you can't just breathe in the stuff you need to build DNA or actin or a phospholipid bilayer. So, how does your body really acquire stuff? That's where the nachos come in. This cheesy, crunchy dish is made of all different kinds of biological matter, like carbohydrates and fat and protein, and it contains a certain, probably shocking amount of calories, which is how we measure energy stored in the chemical bonds in food. So if I take like a 100-calorie bite of nachos, which probably with this much cheese wouldn't even be a very big bite, I can convert the chemical energy stored in those carbohydrates and proteins and fats to feed my muscle and heart cells and maybe like walk a mile, an activity that happens to use about 100 calories. But I can't just swallow the nachos and watch the lump of them travel straight to my heart or leg muscles. In order to actually use this food, I have to convert the biological matter into something my body can work with on the cellular level, which, as you know, is pretty darn tiny. And the work of converting the stuff in food into the stuff that's in my body is done by my digestive system. Human digestion occurs in 6 main steps, some of which you are intimately familiar with, others less so. But every step of the way, your body is working to reduce all the different kinds of molecules in food into their tiniest and most basic forms. The first step is probably everybody's favorite. When it comes to what your digestive system ultimately does, just think of it as a sort of disassembly line. You could have an order of nachos with the works. I'm talking beef and onions and sour cream and slices of jalapeno, and your digestive system will deconstruct it, both mechanically and chemically, one step at a time. It's got to do this because your cells work best with materials that are in their most basic form. Your digestive system reduces food to that level in 2 main ways: by physically smashing it to smithereens and by bathing them, as much as it can, in enzymes. Enzymes are proteins that living things use as catalysts to speed up chemical reactions. When used in digestion, enzymes break down the large molecules in your food into the building blocks that your cells can actually absorb. Those large molecules are called biological molecules, also known as macromolecules, and everything that you eat, I hope, is at least partially made of them. And there are 4 main kinds. You got the lipids, the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the nucleic acids. Each possesses its own density of chemical potential energy, or caloric value. Like, for example, 1 gram of carbohydrate contains about 4 calories, while a gram of fat contains about 9 calories. But many of these biological molecules are polymers, or sequences of smaller molecules, and your cells aren't really equipped to take them up whole. What your body traffics in are those polymers' individual components, called monomers, and there are 4 main kinds of those those too: fatty acids, sugars, amino acids, and nucleotides. The simple idea behind the whole digestive system is to break down the polymers of macromolecules in your food into the smaller monomers that your cells can use to build their own polymers, while also getting the energy they need. And what your body needs to build at any given moment is always changing. Maybe you need new fat stores so you can have energy to run a marathon, or new actin and myosin to build bigger muscles, or more DNA so you can replace the skin cells you scraped off your knee when you fell, or more enzymes so you can digest more food to get more building materials. To meet your body's constant and constantly shifting demands, your digestive system requires a lot of organs that perform a lot of specific tasks to break down and absorb the right nutrient at the right time. Now, I'm quite sure that you're familiar with the key players here. They're the hollow organs that form the continuous tube that is your alimentary canal, aka the gastrointestinal tract, which runs from your mouth to your anus. It's worth pointing out that these organs are hollow because you are basically hollow too. Your digestive tract is really just one unbroken, insulated tunnel of outside that just happens to run through your body and open at both ends.
Yes.
You're a donut. So the layer of stratified squamous and columnar epithelial cells that line your tract is actually a barrier between the outside world and your inside world, but it's a barrier that allows for the selective movement of materials between them. It's these hollow organs that do the actual moving, digesting, and absorbing of food, and they include your mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, and small and large intestines. In your mouth, in your esophagus, and at the other end of things at your anus, you have stratified squamous epithelial tissue, just like your epidermis, to help resist the abrasive action of like chewing like corn chips maybe. From your stomach on down though, the inner GI tract is lined with simple columnar epithelial cells which secrete all sorts of stuff and which absorb and process various nutrients. Most of these columnar cells secrete mucus, which lubricates everything and protects your cells from being digested by your own digestive enzymes. So the innermost epithelial layer of the tube is known as the mucosal layer, and it contains some connective tissue as well, which supplies it with blood. Surrounding the mucosal layer is the submucosal layer made of loose areolar connective tissue, which helps provide the elasticity that the tube needs when you eat a whole pizza in one sitting, and it contains more blood vessels. And outside that, you have the muscularis externa layer, which, as you might guess, is where you find the muscles responsible for moving food through your tube. Beyond these layers, the GI tract gets tons of support from the accessory digestive organs like your teeth and your tongue, your gallbladder, salivary glands, liver, and pancreas. They're kind of like a pit crew, and they mostly help by secreting various enzymes that help take apart food as it comes down the tube. Together, these two groups on the digestive disassembly line work in 6 steps to destroy your food and release and recycle its nutrients. First, of course, you've got to introduce the food to your digestive system. What you know as eating or ingestion is basically just creating a bulk flow of nutrients from the outside world into your tissues. This is where the work of disassembly begins, in your face hole, which scientists call your mouth. Now, we're going to get into the details of what happens here another time, but remember that food disassembly is both mechanical and chemical, so your teeth pulverize the bite of nacho or whatever, while your salivary glands begin that food's hours-long enzyme bath. But the food at this point is not nearly micro enough to be of any use to your cells, so you have to move that mush further down your tube. This stage is called propulsion, and its initial mechanism is swallowing, which, as you know, is a voluntary action, but then it's quickly turned over to the involuntary process of peristalsis. In peristalsis, the smooth muscles of the walls of your digestive organs take turns contracting and relaxing to squeeze food through the lumen, or cavity, of your alimentary tract. Waves of peristalsis continue through the esophagus, stomach, and intestines, and they're so strong that even if you were hanging upside down while eating your lunch and drinking your tea, the food would still soldier on, fighting gravity, and eventually make it to its final destination. Don't do that, though. Other reasons why you shouldn't be upside down. Anyway, all of this shipping and handling mechanically breaks down the food even more, and even after it goes through the stomach and its gastric acid, the mechanical work still continues once it reaches your small intestine, as more smooth muscle segments push the food back and forth to keep it crumbling up. The goal of all this pulverization is to increase the surface area of that bite of food by breaking it down into increasingly tiny pieces to prepare it to encounter more enzymes in step 4, chemical digestion. Really, the actual process of digestion only occurs when the main action becomes more chemical than mechanical. And here, the accessory digestive organs, namely the liver, pancreas, and gallbladder, secrete enzymes into the alimentary canal, where they ambush the mush and break it down into its most basic chemical building blocks. Like I said before, our cells prefer to do business in the basic currency of monomers, like amino acids, fatty acids, and simple sugars, and digestion allows for the absorption of those nutrients nutrients as they pass from the small intestine into the blood by both active and passive transport. Once those nutrients are absorbed by your cells, you can finally use the energy inside of them or use them to build new tissues. The absorption of the nutrients is the goal of the entire process. But of course, it is not the end of it. Once your body has sucked out all the nutrients at once, indigestible substances like fiber are escorted out of your body. Yeah, I'm talking about pooping, or defecation. And that is the end of the digestive line, unless you are a capybara or one of the other animals who make sure that they get the most out of their lunch by giving the whole process another round and practicing coprophagia, aka eating their own poop. Now, you should notice here that some of the processes of digestion occur in just one place and are the job of a single organ. Like, hopefully you're only ingesting through your mouth and eliminating from the large intestine. But most of these 6 steps require cooperation among multiple organs. For example, both mechanical and chemical digestion start in the mouth and continue through the stomach and small intestines, and some chemical breakdown continues in the large intestine thanks to our little bacterial farm there. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to take you and your nachos on a stroll through your digestive system and see who's doing what, where, how, and why. But for now, I got some nachos to finish, so I gotta go. And eating those nachos, as you learned today, will provide me with energy and raw materials by first ingesting something nutritious, propelling it through my alimentary canal where it will be mechanically broken down and chemically digested by enzymes until my cells can absorb their monomers and use them to make whatever they need. And eventually, there will be pooping. Thanks to all of our Patreon patrons who help make Crash Course possible through their monthly contributions. And if you like Crash Course and want to help us keep making videos like this one, you can go to patreon.com/Crash Course. Also, a big thank you.
Last night, I made a wish on a star, and the star answered.
With such power, I can do anything.
Knowing what I know.
In the summer of 1822, a French-Canadian fur trapper named Alexis St. Martin was going about his business near Lake Michigan when he was shot by a hunter. Right in the stomach. The wound was severe, and everyone expected St. Martin to die that night. But he didn't. A local army doctor named William Beaumont kept him alive. In fact, Beaumont performed so many surgeries on the injury over the next several months that he decided, somewhat questionably, to just keep St. Martin's stomach wound open. St. Martin was left with a hole, or fistula, in his abdominal wall, which allowed anyone to see right into his stomach. Now, it's probably hard to work as a fur trapper with a hole in your guts, but Beaumont saw, or possibly created, an opportunity. He hired St. Martin, technically as a handyman, but really as a guinea pig. Over the next several years, in some 238 experiments, Beaumont recorded what St. Martin ate and what his stomach did to his meals. Sometimes they just skipped the eating part altogether and just shoved some food tied to a string right into the guy's gut hole. Beaumont took samples of gastric juices and had them analyzed by chemists, something no one had ever done before. And he also noticed that St. Martin's digestion slowed at certain times, like when he was sick or stressed. I mean, like beyond the stress of having a gaping hole in your abdomen. Through his somewhat questionable research, Beaumont discovered some major secrets of the digestive system, like that the stomach's extremely strong acids and muscular contractions break down food, and that some foods are more digestible or less digestible than others, and that the brain can affect the stomach. Beaumont's findings, as well as his methods of clinical observation, revolutionized the field of physiology. And St. Martin? Don't worry about him. He lived to be 83 years old, had great health, and a hole in his guts. Now, I sincerely hope that you can't actually see what's going on in your stomach, but let me tell you, the story there is epic. In your digestive system's mission to disassemble food into its tiniest, most basic molecular forms, the stretch that runs from your mouth to your stomach unleashes all of the mechanical and chemical powers at its disposal. It physically roughs up food, douses it in protein-loving, acid-triggered enzymes, reduces it all into a creamy paste, and as a bonus, because it likes you, it also kills a whole host of harmful invaders that, for whatever reason, found their way through your face and into your tube. But your stomach's not the end of the line for your food, unless it is. I mean, most of the time, everything from your mouth to your stomach prepares food to be absorbed by your tissues, but sometimes food finds its way back up. Yeah, in case the story of Alexis St. Martin didn't make you want to do this already, now I'm talking directly about vomiting. Let's begin begin with the beginning, with your mouth, aka your oral or buccal cavity. Now, we don't usually think of it this way, but that is where digestion starts. The mechanical and chemical breakdown of food through chewing and enzyme action. The inside of your mouth is lined with a tough, thick layer of stratified squamous epithelium that can stand up to lots of friction, like getting scraped by tortilla chips and like grilled cheese sandwiches that maybe were cooked a little too much on the top. Your anterior hard palate and the flexible posterior soft palate form the roof of your mouth. The hard palate provides like a hard surface for the tongue to mash food against, while the soft palate forms a movable fold of flesh that reflexively closes off the nasopharynx when you swallow, so food gets directed down your esophagus and not up into your nasal cavity. We all know what teeth are for, and you have roughly 32 of them in your basic types that help you masticate or chew your food. The tongue lives on the floor of your mouth and is basically just a big muscle that grips and constantly repositions your food as you chew. The resulting ball of mush actually has its own special name. It's a bolus, and the tongue rolls it back to the pharynx in preparation for swallowing. But that's just the physical action that goes on in your mouth. Just as much destruction is taking place through chemistry. The bolus is broken down with the help of 3 major pairs of salivary glands that churn out an average of 1.5 liters of slightly acidic saliva every day. More than 4 soda cans worth of spit per day. And all that saliva delivers enzymes like salivary amylase, a digestive enzyme that breaks down starches into glucose monomers. Now, once the food enters the pharynx, it's propelled by peristalsis into the esophagus, which, except for the little sphincter at the end that keeps food moving in the right direction, is really just a glorified laundry chute lined with smooth muscle. The only time you probably even remember that you have an esophagus is when something's stuck in there, or if you're feeling intense heartburn, or if you just puked. But moving on. Assuming you have not just puked, then the bolus moves on to Dr. Beaumont's ticket to fame, the stomach. The stomach is the stretchiest part of your digestive tube, capable of holding 2 to 4 liters of material at any given time. 2 to 4 liters. That is a lot of nachos mixed with spit. But of course, it's much more than just a storage tank. It's lined with the same 4 main layers found through most of the GI tract: the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, and serosa, but it's got a few special modifications. For one thing, the muscularis includes an additional layer of smooth muscle that gives it extra strength, allowing the stomach not just to hold materials, but to actively smush them around. And the inner mucosa is made up almost entirely of mucus cells, which produce a protective coat that keeps the stomach tissues from getting digested along with your lunch. This inner lining is dotted with millions of tiny deep gastric pits, which lead down to tubular gastric glands. These glands, in turn, contain various types of secretory cells that brew up some of the most potent chemicals in your body. For example, your stomach has parietal cells that release hydrochloric acid, a substance more acidic than battery acid, which lays waste to most of the bacteria, viruses, and other stuff that could make you sick. It also helps denature or change the shape of proteins to make it easier for enzymes to digest them. And maybe more importantly, when the hydrochloric acid is combined with pepsinogen, an inactive enzyme that's secreted by another kind of stomach cell called chief cells, the mixture creates the protein-digesting enzyme pepsin. Together, this superpowered acid and protein-hungry enzyme can annihilate nearly anything they encounter. This was apparently something that Beaumont observed firsthand by dropping hunks of meat into a cup filled with St. Martin's personal gastric fluids. He watched the gobbets of food dissolve over time, which is partly how he discovered the stomach's role in digestion was as much chemical as mechanical. But with so much mind-blowingly powerful stuff at your stomach's disposal, somebody down there has to be in charge. So your gastric glands also contain enteroendocrine cells. These cells release regulatory hormones like serotonin and histamine, which act locally to trigger other cells to, say, release more acid or contract muscle tissue. And when the time comes to tamp the action down, they secrete other hormones like somatostatin to inhibit secretions. And then there are G cells, which produce the most important hormone for stimulating gastric activity, gastrin. Most signals that increase stomach activity get the job done by increasing the secretion of gastrin, which then stimulates the release of other gastric fluids as well as stomach muscle activity. Now, if the smell of baking cookies has ever made your mouth water and your belly grumble, then it might not surprise you to learn that these stomach secretions are ruled by neural mechanisms as well as hormonal ones. In fact, stomach secretion occurs in 3 phases based on where the food is sensed: the brain, the stomach and the small intestine. The cephalic phase is the one ruled by your brain, and it kicks in when you first see, smell, taste, or even think about food. That sensory input gets relayed to the hypothalamus, which stimulates the medulla oblongata, which then taps the parasympathetic fibers in the vagus nerve. From there, the signals are sent to the stomach with the word that, hey, we think that maybe cookies are on the way, so you might want to prepare yourself. Now, this is a conditioned reflex, so it only works if you want to eat the food in question. If I happen to be super full or not feeling well, or somebody puts a pile of squid eyeballs in front of me, the cephalic phase isn't gonna happen. And no offense if squid eyeballs are totally your thing, they're just not my thing. But say I eat the plate of squid eyeballs anyway, because I'm trying to be polite. Well, even without the cephalic warm-up, when that food hits my stomach, local mechanisms, both neural and hormonal, jumpstart the gastric phase. For the next few hours, as my stomach grows distended from the stretch receptors that again stimulate my medulla and get my vagus nerves to tell my stomach to turn up the juice. At the same time, the secretion of gastrin is activated by other signals like the rise in alkalinity caused by the stomach acid getting neutralized as it does its job. Conversely, as stomach acidity increases, it inhibits the release of gastrin. Now, the third phase of gastric regulation, the intestinal phase, speeds or slows the rate in which your stomach empties so that the small intestine doesn't get too overloaded with too much acid or with the creamy paste that your stomach turns your food into, also known as chyme. Now remember, not a lot of absorption actually occurs in the stomach. The stomach is more like a decontamination tank. Sure, it pummels your food down to a paste, but it's also where your body tries to obliterate any nasties that could make you sick. As long as food is still in there, your body has a chance to kind of size it up and feel it out, and it reserves the right to eject anything that it feels is potentially dangerous. Lots of factors can trigger the stomach's urge to purge or vomit, but the most common are simply ingesting too much food or eating some kind of irritant or toxin, like those produced by bad bacteria, too much alcohol, certain drugs, or unappealing foods. Of course, if you've ever puked in a moment of trauma or stress, you know how emotions and anxiety can also trigger your stomach to launch its lunch. That's the brain influencing the cephalic phase of gastric regulation again by sending extra fight or flight signals to the stomach. Beaumont noticed this mind-stomach connection whenever St. Martin's digestion was affected by illness or stress. Something you'd think he'd have felt every time that doctor came at him with some meat on a string. If you were able to keep down your lunch today, you learned how mechanical and chemical digestion start in the mouth and continue in the stomach, where food is pummeled by acids and enzymes and turned into chyme. We also looked at the stomach's cephalic, gastric, and intestinal phases of digestive regulation. Thank you to all of our Patreon patrons who help make Crash Course possible, not only for themselves, but for everyone through their monthly contributions. If you like Crash Course and want to help us keep making videos like this one, you can go to patreon.com/crashcourse. Also, a big thank you to Sigmund Lervogue, Alexis and Brian Carpenter, and Luke Peterson for co-sponsoring this episode of Crash Course Anatomy and Physiology. This episode was filmed in the Dr. Cheryl C. Kinney Crash Course studio. It was written by Kathleen Yell, edited by Blake DiPastino, and our consultant is Dr. Brandon Jackson. It was directed and edited by Nicole Sweeney. Our script supervisor was Valerie Barr. Michael Aranda is our sound designer, and the graphics team is Thought Cafe.
That grimy film on your teeth,
Dr. G?
it's actually the buildup of plaque bacteria, which can cause cavities.
Unlike other toothpastes, Crest Health's antibacterial fluoride fights bacteria for 12 hours.
They stop cavities before they start.
Crest.
Yeah. So this is chapter 15. We are going to learn the chapter 15 to 11 to 15, right? No, 15 is digestive system. We done. Okay.
Yeah, we were done. I think.
Okay.
14.
Okay. So the urinary system. So we are done for the unit, what is called 6 to 15. So tomorrow from the morning, you are going to study. If you have any questions, we can discuss at the same time. So I'm going to work for your review and then we are going to send it. Okay. So yeah, right timing. We done 12:59.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Miss.
Thank you very much for
Okay.
Have a
patience
good
and
evening.
listening.
I just wanted to remind you, I'm going to the US tomorrow, so I might not be able to join the class, but I will do the review questions as soon as I land.
When you are landing?
I'm actually driving there.
When you are coming back?
I would be there for an entire week, but I'll be taking classes from there.
Okay, so you are going to work on the reviews and everything there, your exam and everything there?
Yes, everything there. I'm taking my laptop with me, so I'll be able to do it from there.
Okay, make sure.
So
Otherwise,
I just need only one day, which would be the day that I'm traveling while I'm en route.
that is tomorrow.
Yes, that's tomorrow.
It's okay. Tomorrow we can make it absent. Okay. One day is absent is okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's just one day, and then after that, I can join Monday
The
onwards.
Monday. Okay.
Yes.
And by this time, look at your email because we are going to send the review on the email and work on that because Monday is the exam. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Have a
Thank
safe
you so
trip.
much. Thank you.
Okay.
Safe travel.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, take care.
You are going for the Thanksgiving. I know they are going for the Thanksgiving celebration.
Yeah, it's just a family thing, but it's my child's birthday as well. So.
Oh, my
Yeah.
love and hug to your baby. Okay.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank
Okay.
you so
You have
much.
one baby?
Yes, only one boy.
Oh, what's the name?
Zidane. He was in the class just now earlier in the morning. He was watching you guys as well. Yeah.
One day we can show him. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll keep in
Okay.
touch. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Miss.
See you tomorrow again.
See you tomorrow.
You have to see the. You have to
Bye.
listen to this lady again. You are getting bored, right?